Before we dive into this episode, I've got something really exciting to share with you. If you're a brand new coach looking to launch your business in 2025, or you've already started, but you really want to get things off the ground and gain momentum, let me introduce you to the Strategy Soiree. This is a free 4-part mini coaching program created just for coaches like you. It's going to run for 2 weeks in January, and it'll be a fun, supportive, and really high value experience. We're going to come together to map out your personalized business strategy. Think of it as a mix of actionable steps, clarity, and that extra boost of confidence you need to start the year and launch and grow your business in a way that feels really good for you. And the best part is that not only will you get support and coaching and tools and resources from me, you'll also get to connect with a community of like-minded coaches who are on the same journey as you. So you'll start the year by making amazing connections with other people on the same path. And honestly, this is such a game changer when you're in business. It's really the difference between struggling all alone and feeling supported and expanded by the people you're around. So if that sounds like something you want to get involved in, I'd love to see you in there. Head to thehappyheartco.com/2025, or just click on the link in the show notes to sign up for free. And you'll be able to join the community straight away, start connecting, and we'll be kicking off on the 14th of January. I can't wait to see you there.
How do you get over the initial fear when you're starting a new coaching business, when you're diving into something you've never done before? How do you get over the fear and just get going and take those steps that need to be taken?
Hello, welcome to the Life First Coaching Business Podcast. I'm your host, Leonie, and I'm all about helping new coaches like you create life first businesses you love by building out the key foundations you need for an easeful and joyful business, where you get to make an impact doing what lights you up and helping others. We talk about the strategies, the systems, and the mindset you need to make your coaching business work for you. So let's dive in.
Hello, welcome to today's episode. I'm just recording this very off the cuff, and I'm recording it because this was a question that came up in session 1 of the Strategy Soiree, which, if you're listening to this in the future, it's a mini program that I'm hosting at the moment for free, helping new coaches to launch and grow their business in 2025 by looking at their strategy at the start of the year and coming up with a clear strategy to launch and grow their business. And one of the questions at the end of session 1 was like, how have I got over the fear of putting myself out there and starting my business? So I wanted to address that on the podcast today because I'm sure it's something that a lot of new coaches are feeling the fear, and all those doubts and imposter syndrome and things like that can creep in. I would say just at the beginning of your business, but they can creep in all the time and they can crop up again and again. So that's really one of the key parts of my advice on this, is that expect those feelings to be there. I think that's the first step to it, is when you expect to feel that way and you realize that actually overcoming those hurdles is about taking action in spite of those feelings. And that's kind of a continuous thing in your business. And obviously it gets so much easier than it is right at the beginning. It's a continuous thing that you never feel fully ready for the next step and the next up level in your business. And you've always got to take action before you feel ready. And you're always going to have kind of fears and doubts creeping in. But the more you do take action in spite of those feelings, the more it becomes habit to do so, the more it becomes less daunting to do so. And the more you kind of say to yourself, well, actually nothing bad happened. It was fine. It was scary, but I did it and it was fine. I didn't feel ready, but if I had to do it again now, I would feel ready, and I only feel ready once I've done it. So it's like a catch-22. So yeah, the more you have that realization, the more you get used to just taking the action when you feel those doubts or you feel like a bit of an imposter. So the second piece of advice I would give you is to have an awareness of why you're having those feelings, because obviously those things are our brain's kind of natural way of trying to keep us safe, trying to keep us in a place of comfort where we're not uncomfortable, and our brains are programmed to do that, to keep us safe and to keep us in certainty. So when anything in life, but particularly in businesses, you're always having to go against what feels comfortable. So getting comfortable with discomfort is a really useful skill when it comes to growing and launching a business. But something that can be quite helpful is to actually interrogate what would be the worst possible thing that can happen if my fears around whatever this action you're thinking of taking, let's use, for example, sharing a video of yourself on social media for the first time. That's quite a big milestone for a lot of people. What's the very worst thing that might happen if you do that? And when you actually start to dig into that, actually none of it is that bad. And then on the flip side, if you say to yourself, like, what's the best possible outcome for this action I'm going to take? I'm going to start growing my dream business. I'm going to start moving steps closer towards my vision of my impact-driven, purposeful, life-first coaching business where I'm getting to do work that I love and bring in an income and support myself and support my family, doing something that gives me freedom and flexibility and all those things. I'm like, how amazing is that compared to what's the worst that could happen? Like someone feels that you're a bit cringe, or you mess up your words and you post it anyway and it's not perfect. Like none of those things matter. And if you look around and see other people doing what you want to do and they're fine and they're living their life and things are working out for them, take that as a sign that you can do it too. So that would be my key bits of advice, is definitely asking yourself those questions, like what's really the worst that can happen if I do this? And what's the best case scenario? And focus on the best case scenario instead. And then some more active strategies around doing these things that might feel uncomfortable, whether it's like, reaching out to someone, sending that email, making that phone call, posting that post. Tackle them all individually. Don't focus on the whole big picture all at once. Just think, okay, what's the next step? And then some really practical strategies you can use when it comes to all these things is when you're in that fight or flight phase, which might be just before you press send or just before you press post, like move your body and stand up, like wave your arms around, like get your nervous energy out. Sometimes, if you're sitting still and you're procrastinating on something, it builds up in your body and you feel that kind of tightness in your chest or those butterflies in your tummy. It's your body going into that flight or fight mode. Whereas if you take some deep breaths and then sort of shake your body and move around, you can get rid of that nervous energy and tell your body that, whatever that fight or flight thing you were reacting to is now over and it's gone, and you can push yourself over that last little step to take the action. And that's quite a practical thing, which sometimes is really helpful, if you're about to go live on Instagram or something, like just getting that nervous energy out beforehand is really, really helpful. So yeah, I hope there's some practical lessons there in feeling the fear and doing it anyway. But if that really is the case, like the fear doesn't go away, the nerves don't go away until you actually take the action. So I think it's important to decide on those steps for yourself and not try to take step 10 before you've taken step 1. But once you've decided on those actions that you want to take and you've broken it down into, okay, this feels like the least scary of these actions, so this is the one I'm going to do first, obviously, if that makes sense in what you're trying to do. But maybe it's, the first thing is like setting up your social media account, and the next thing is posting a picture of yourself with an introduction, and the next thing is having a graphic with a bit of audio of you talking, and then the next step is a video. So you're not diving straight into the really scary thing, depending on how you feel around it, and you're taking some steps towards it. Be another way to just break it down and make it feel less daunting, so that you can start in a place that's not as terrifying or uncomfortable as the thing you're really struggling with. And that, that might not, I'm just using posting a video online as an example of one of those actions, but whatever it is for you. And of course, being around other people who are doing the same thing is just transformative in terms of having community, having support, seeing other people doing it, having people cheering you on, whether that's an individual person or it's a community of people, that is also such a huge help. And when you're in close proximity to other people that are taking the actions you want to take, suddenly doesn't feel like the unthinkable. It feels like the norm. When you're talking about it to someone, maybe a friend who is not considering starting a business, it's not something that would ever be on their radar, it can feel really foreign in those kinds of conversations. Whereas if you're talking to someone who's about to start a business, has already started a business, is already doing the things that you want to do, well, suddenly it just feels a lot more achievable and not a big deal, which can also be really helpful. So try some of those practical actions. Ask yourself some of those questions around what's the best case scenario and focus there. But also be open to yourself about what's the worst case scenario, because when you really dig into that and you journal on it or you think about it, actually it's probably not anywhere near as bad as you're making it in your head. And then, find your people, find your community, try to get in virtual rooms or physical rooms with other people doing the things that you want to do, whether that's going to a local networking event, joining a group on Facebook. But those are all things that I found useful. And when I answered this question on the Q&A I was doing, I talked about how I've always struggled with, or I've not struggled is not the word to use anymore. I've always experienced imposter syndrome, but I don't find it a struggle to have that anymore. It used to be a struggle for me, but it's not anymore because I see it for what it is. And I realize what the function of imposter syndrome is. Again, it's my brain trying to keep me safe. It really used to paralyze me quite a bit when so if you don't know, my previous professional experiences as an architect, and I think it's a career and a profession where you are expected to have a really, really broad range of skills. You're supposed to be creative and have creative ideas and be able to design. You're also supposed to have really in-depth technical knowledge so that you can draw every single detail of a building. You're supposed to have very good people skills so you can be the lead consultant on a team creating a huge building. You are supposed to be able to go on site and talk to builders about what needs to be done. So there's a lot of skills that you need to be able to do. And that I always found that quite a lot of pressure of like, I need to know everything. I have to be an expert at all of this. Otherwise I don't deserve to be here. And that I found that imposter syndrome quite crippling, particularly being like a young woman in that environment, which was often very male dominated. But I think now I've kind of realized that actually most people are experiencing imposter syndrome on some level. Nobody knows everything. And you don't need to know everything. As long as you know what to do when you get to a point where you don't know something and you know where to go to find that information and you approach it in a way that you're not being out of integrity, it's fine. And no one knows everything and everyone starts at the same position. Like any person you're seeing doing what you hope to do was where you are at some point. So the imposter syndrome, if you're experiencing it, is just something that is there, again, like trying to keep you safe and trying to stop you from taking action. And if you, instead of trying to get rid of the imposter syndrome and trying to see it as something that you need to stop feeling in order to take action, actually instead learning to just accept it and take action in spite of it is going to help you move forward as quickly as possible and move on to the next step and look back on that thing that you're worried about and think, well, I've achieved it now and everything was fine. So next time I'm feeling this about something else, I'll be much more equipped to take the next step. And I hope none of that sounds patronizing, but just find those strategies that can help you take action, whether that's getting support and finding your community, using physical strategies to regulate your nervous system, breathing, meditation, whatever works for you to kind of calm yourself, visualize the best possible outcome and focus there, and get really clear on your why. That would be my last tip. Once you're really clear on your why and you're really clear on your vision, which is something that we went over in session 1 of the strategy soiree. And focus there, like really focus on the why. Why am I doing this? What's it going to mean to my life? You're clear on the why, then it's so much easier to take the uncomfortable action because you've got the motivation of that why and that vision behind it. So those are all my tips. As I said, I hope none of that sounds patronizing, and I hope it's helpful to you if you're in that phase of wanting to start your business or wanting to take the next step in your business to do so. But yeah, thank you for tuning in today. I really, really appreciate your being here, listening to this point in the episode, and I'll see you again next week. But as always, if you want to get in touch with me, head over to Instagram, jump into my DMs there if you want to chat, if you want to hear anything more about how we could work together in getting your coaching business off the ground. Have a look at any of my free resources on my website. All those things, I'll include all the important links in the show notes. And otherwise, I'll catch you next week. Take care.
Before you go, just a quick reminder to join the strategy soiree. If you're a brand new coach planning to launch in 2025, or you're a coach in the early stages of business who's ready to build real momentum, this free mini coaching program is perfect for you. It's not going to be just about strategy. It's a fun community-focused experience, and we'll be mapping out your next steps together so you'll walk away with a personalized plan to launch and grow your business. You'll have the clarity to move forward and the confidence to book your next clients, all without going down rabbit holes, chasing the wrong ideas and strategies. Instead, you'll be able to take actionable steps that lead to results. Head to thehappyheartco.com/2025 or check out the link in the show notes to sign up for free. Thanks for listening to this episode, and I'll catch you in the next one.